right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Home Studio Simplified channel. Today we're going to be doing a live mix breakdown of a previously released song that I did. I think this one was 3 years ago now. I think it was 3 years ago. Anyway, the song that we're going to be using is an original song that I released here from my home studio, and it is called Through the Fire. We'll go into a little bit of the back story of the song. We'll talk about the production elements that go into the song, what makes the song a song. And then we are going to literally just do like a deep dive and show sort of the innards of the song itself. So if this is your first time here, really glad to have you. Drop something here in the chat section and let us know where you're tuning in from, whether it be the United States or somewhere across the world. I know the past few live streams that I've done, I've had individuals from Germany, from Brazil, a lot of cool people all over the world tuning in to check out the live streams lately. So thank you all so much for the support. So drop something there in the chat. Let me know where you're from. And while you're at it, if you are watching, go ahead and kick that like button and let me know that this is the content that you'd like to see more of. If you have not subscribed, make sure to be a subscriber and click the bell icon so that every time I do one of these live sessions like this, you'll be notified. Now today we're doing a mix breakdown. In the past, we've done live mixing sessions. I did a live EQ training, sort of an in-depth there. Just recently we did an automation training where we covered all of the different aspects of automation. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. There's giveaways that's going on. We just recently had Warren Hewart on here from Produce Like a Pro. Super cool. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to tune in. All right, let's go ahead and if you are new here, let me introduce you to this channel and what this channel is actually about. So this channel exists to simplify the complexities of the home studio and to help you make professional sounding music in a less than professional space. The motto around here is that you can dream alone and you can even create alone. And a lot of times we do, but together we can achieve so much more. And so the entire purpose of everyone who tunes into this channel is to help one another make better music, to help one another, even outside of the music area of their lives. We've got some really cool people in here that have, been a sort of a shot of positivity in a negative world right now. A lot of cool people. So if you want to join that part of the community, feel free, like I said, to subscribe. And also I do have a Patreon page where I actually will go a little bit more behind the scenes with my patrons. I recently did a home studio tour, showed all of what I am and am not using. You'd probably be surprised what I'm not using. However, let's go ahead and dive into some of today's material. But before we get to that, I have to give honor where honor is due. These are some individuals who really rock in my book. These are the HSS chart toppers. So for those of you who may be new here, these are individuals who have sponsored the channel, whether it be through super chats, super stickers, or some of these awesome individuals on the left-hand side here are Patreon members. And what you're seeing now is a running total of the amount of patronage that they have given. On the left side, you see the super chat donations, and on the right side, you see their Patreon membership account. So thank you guys so much. You all rock. I know I say it every single time, but I got to give honor where honor's due. And if it wasn't for you guys, it's hard telling how long this would have went on already. Seems like sometimes, especially as musicians, we put music out there. Sometimes we put our feelings out there. We bare our sleeves, so to speak, and it's nothing but crickets, and it can be very discouraging at times. But when you get a community like this around here who's just gathering around one another and showing their support like this, it is so, so helpful. So thank you guys so much. Also, we are still having a song contest, if you are not aware of that. So if you have a song that you would like to submit for the song contest, the way that it's going to be done this time, you're going to submit an MP3 version of your song. It needs to be a clean song, no vulgarity or anything like that. And it can either be instrumental or it can be a full-blown band, however you'd like for that to be. It cannot have any copyrighted material in it whatsoever. And the best thing is just to have fun. So if you don't think it's your best track, that's all the more reason to submit it, because you're actually going to get live feedback from myself, and this time from other mix engineers who I highly respect and favor. The last time that we did this, yes, Pirate Beach, you do need to get on that. So the last time that I did this, we had a vote. It was done by a panel of votes, which is fine. But what we had is some people kind of felt like they got slighted, because then they had to push their music off on other people and try to sort of self-promote. And as musicians, you know, none of us are really good at self-promotion. It's a weird situation when you're self-promoting. Just, it doesn't feel right ever. So I totally get that. So this time, one of our regulars on here, Mr. Keith Lane, he suggested maybe we should have a panel of individuals that could actually be like judges, sort of like The Voice or American Idol or something like that. So that's how we're going to do it this time. I've actually got some other YouTubers from other channels who do similar things that I do, and to help them get exposure and to help me get exposure on their channels, and just to, you know, generally just be nice and reach out and collab in a way that I think would be fun and engaging. I'm going to have them on here to actually judge this. And so the panel of judges as of right now, and I'm probably going to bring on a few more if I can reach out to them in time and if they'd like to be a part of it. But the panel of judges this time is going to be myself, Ed Thorne, who has a YouTube channel, White Sea Studios, his name is Marlon, and Alexei Solovov is going to also be a judge in this. Now, so far, I'm still going to try to contact Mike from Creative Sauce and see if he wants to jump in. I'm sure he probably will. I'm going to see first if he has any time, and if he does, I might have him also come on board. So, and if you have anybody, maybe get Bongonzo on here, especially if we're going to have individuals submitting beats. I think he would be another great voice on there to be a panel of judges. So that's how it's going to be played out this time. Evan Wilson says, I'll have to look at the contest. A little scary to submit. It's the first thing I've ever recorded. You know, Evan, to be perfectly honest, that's really the whole intent behind the song contest, is just to get people to officially just like punch fear in the face and put it out there. And the reason why I am pushing to do that is because the more that you put out there and you realize, especially here in this community, that you're going to have support from other people who may not have the best recordings either, or other people who are still struggling with some things. That's the whole point of it, is to help you to get over that fear and to push it out there, because you never know. I mean, you might get some amazing feedback, and even if the feedback isn't all, and we don't always need like, oh man, that's the greatest thing ever, you're awesome, your music is the bomb. Sometimes we don't need that as much as we need, you know, a friendly hand to say, man, this song has got a lot of potential. If you would just maybe do a few things right here, it could really take it to a whole new level. And that's like Pirate Beats has just said, feedback is more valuable than coming in first place, in my opinion. Very, very true, Pirate Beats. You have said it. You have said it with such candor of mind and thought that is very, very right. So yeah, Evan, don't worry about how the song sounds at this point. Just submit it, get some feedback on it, and every one of the panel members that I'm bringing on, the reason why I have selected them is not because they have huge channels, is not because I'm trying to get anything out of them or they're trying to get anything out of me. It's the fact that these are really nice guys who genuinely want to help people. And so those are the kind of people I want to surround myself with. I don't want to surround myself with people from forums who trash people because they don't have the best of gear, or tell them that their song stinks and you can't polish a turd. If I had a quarter for every time I've heard that on these forums, it's just rude. Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, there's nicer ways to say, hey, maybe you could do this or that to make it better. So anyway, I would definitely go ahead and submit it, but the deadline for this is going to be July 15th. So you've still got a little bit of time left, but make sure that you don't lag too far behind. And don't put like so much thought into it that you stress over it, because, in the end, the first place prize winner is, you're not going to win a new car or anything like that. So there will be some winnings this time around. Apart from, I know the last time I gave away some courses, and then I also did a free mix and master, which I still have not got the tracks from the last guy that won. I really need to, I've reached out to him 2 times now and he's still not sent me the tracks. Anyway. Or no, that's right. I did get an email back and he said he was preparing the tracks. So he's probably suffering from the same thing that you might be suffering from, Evan. He just feels like it's not ready, but that's fine. What the main thing is that you'll get this instant feedback, and you'll get a little bit of insight into some things that maybe you had missed. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on over to the desktop, where we are going to be covering today's mix breakdown. So before I get into the mix breakdown, I also want to tell you that this is not about showcasing like this is the way that it needs to be done. It's not about me saying like this is the only way that a production should look, sound, feel, nothing like that. All this is doing is just simply showcasing one of my songs and how I did it. And then hopefully through that, you can go, oh, I might use that, or I might use this, or I really didn't like that part of the song. Maybe if he would have, done this a little bit differently, I think that would have made it better. And all it is about is just sort of stirring up that thought process and breaking out of that, the mundane of, sometimes it really helps. I started doing this a couple of years ago to actually try to write in a different genre than what you're used to, or to work with tracks that are from a different genre than what you're used to. A lot of times that can help dramatically, because what happens is, we get locked into our 4 chords and the truth, and we get so inundated with, just everything that goes on, that we get stuck in a rut. And so sometimes the best way to actually get out of that rut is to get out of the rut. I think the definition of insanity is just doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. And sometimes we get trapped in that insanity of things by thinking that, well, if I just keep doing the same things in every mix that I'm doing, or if I just keep, playing the same chords that I've always played, eventually, you get to the point where it doesn't feel right anymore. So by working in a different genre, by working with different tracks and different people from time to time, what you're going to find is that everything in time will start to break you out of that mundane, that rut that you're in. And so that's what this is all about. We're going to be looking at a song that I've done. Like I said, this is not the die-hard rules that you need to do this, but maybe it'll help you. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to talk about the song itself. It's called Through the Fire, and I wrote this song, I want to say it's been about three years ago now is when I released it. And it was actually born out of some grief. As most songs usually deal with very hard emotions as musicians, it's hard for us to sometimes put our thoughts and our emotions into words, but it's a lot easier for us sometimes to put them into song. And so what had happened in this situation is the local assembly that I'm a part of, I play lead guitar for. I'm a lay minister in this local assembly. It actually burned to the ground. Well, I should say it burned to the point where we can't hold services in there anymore. And this has been quite some time ago now, and it was a dramatic event that happened in my life. I can still remember I woke up that morning and it was all over my Facebook news feed. I literally jumped out of bed. I don't even think I combed my hair. I just put a hat on and flew to the church. And here's, my pastor standing outside, and we're all just standing around this beautiful building that we once had church in. And it's just engulfed in flames. There was 3 different fire companies there trying to fight this fire, and they were having no luck. It was horrible. So this song is about the grief of not just losing that building and losing all those memories in there, but it's also about the victories that we've seen coming from that. The sense that the church still goes on, we're still having services. And what I feel like is that through the fire, we became stronger as a people. So Pirate Beat says, if you need any help with your song or need it mixed or anything, Evan, I might know. I'd be happy to lend a hand. Awesome. Thanks for that, Pirate Beats. Very, very generous. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the sort of breakdown of the song. So that's sort of the backstory of it. This is born out of a moment of grief where our church had burned up, and somehow my guitar actually survived that. I don't know how, but it did. It didn't ever smell the same. That's actually one of the guitars that you don't see hanging on the wall, by the way. That's the one that I leave at the church. And I probably shouldn't leave it at the church. That's how it got burned up. So, anywho. All right, so what you can see here on the very top is the lead vocals. Honestly, this is how I always, it's true, it's never smelled the same. This is how I always arrange my sessions. And even if I fly in sessions from other individuals, I always do this. My lead vocals are always on top. It just helps me to, it's just the way that I do it. And I always color them blue. Lead vocals are always blue. They're always on top. It's just the way that I visually want to see it. So, and then just underneath that, I've got two different tracks here of vocal thickening, as I have called them. So, and this is basically, these are panned left and right, and these are basically just different, they're the same track per se, but I've got a little altar boy on there that's actually taking them up and down semitones, different semitones. So then just underneath that, we've got a choir track. And let's see, there's 4. Wow. Okay. There's 8 choir tracks. It's been so long since I've even pulled this mix up. So we're kind of both getting a first look at this, that I totally forgot there were 8 choir tracks in this. Wow. Okay. Then just underneath that, of course, you got to have electric guitar. I've got electric guitar left and right. This is the Les Paul, or I shouldn't say the Court, which is hanging here. And then just underneath that is 2 more guitars, right and left. And these are the strums. And it looks like, yeah, I used a Fender Strat on the left side, the Telecaster on the right side. And then the electric lead guitar, yet again, I used the Court. It's got 2 acoustic guitar tracks, and it's got a shaker track. It also has the Expand plugin, which I absolutely love. I believe that's for some pads. I have to check that out. I'm going to solo that real quick and play it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's the organ pad that I've got going on there. And then right here, I've got some tracks where they're just like accentuation tracks for the drums. I believe they're risers. Just real quickly. Yeah. Risers, and then the bell chimes. Okay. Of course, bass guitar, and then obviously a drum section. So I think if I expand this, there's 37 tracks total, which is actually a very high track count for the stuff that I normally produce here on my own. Because normally I really don't hardly ever go over, I don't know, 15, 16 tracks, I think is maybe the usual, unless I'm doing a lot of like drum samples and stuff like that. So this is a very, very dense mix for my standards even. So let's talk a little bit about the production elements. Actually, before we even talk about the production elements, it might even be better just to go ahead and listen to the song, and then we can kind of come back and talking about those production elements. So let's go ahead and listen to the song first, and that'll kind of give you a feel for what we're actually talking about today. And then we'll start doing a little bit more of a deep dive into the song. So let's check it out.
Through the fire, through the flame, You're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain. There's always a purpose in the midst of the pain. The loss is never greater than what we stand to gain. Through the fire, through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain. There's always a purpose in the midst of the pain. The loss is never greater than what we stand to gain. Through the fire, Lord, bring us together. Melt our desires, oh God, until they become one. We've prayed for revival. Now, Lord, make us ready and open our hearts to receive your daughters and sons. Through the fire, through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain. There's always a purpose in the midst of the pain. The loss is never greater than what we stand to gain. Through the fire, Lord, bring us together. Melt our desires, oh God, until they become one. We've prayed for revival. Now, Lord, make us ready and open our hearts to receive
All right. So that was just a real quick synopsis of the entire song so that you can kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about as we go through the various elements of this production. It looks like my buddy Greg Crocourt is watching on Facebook. Good to see you again, Greg. I love you, man. Haven't talked to you in a while. We need to get up together. Talk on the phone at least. 6 feet. All right. But anyway, so there's a lot of elements that's going on in this mix, but what I wanted you to pick up on, and like I said, this is just the way that I've done it. Every mix is going to be different, and according to different genres, it's going to be different. But this might help to kind of, cue your interest and give you something to kind of go off of. So obviously it starts out very sparsely populated. I love taking, not every song, but most of the songs that I create, I love taking them from sort of this minimalistic approach and then building up to this big crescendo. And then at some point, one of my favorite things to do is right here, as you can see at this part of the mix, everything just drops out. So we get to this big crescendo and then everything just drops. And then it comes back in and it's just like, boom, just gets you right in the chest. Love that. And this song it just kind of lent itself to that because it was already building up to that crescendo anyway. I wanted to keep this sort of like a traditional, almost like a church song, like a choir type gospel song. So what I did is with most gospel songs, they have a lot of repetitive verses or repetitive choruses. And then they usually have some kind of a bridge or something that kind of spans that gap, and something at the end of the song that will usually just kind of solidify the entire message of the song itself. And it's almost like an anthem. So at the end of it, I sort of added this when it all comes back in and the choir kicks in. It's sort of like this anthem that just, through the fire, through the flame, we feel your presence all around us. Through the power of your name, we're moving forward with greater purpose. And so that's what I really wanted that to just drive that point home. So at the very beginning, all we have is literally vocals, acoustic guitar, a shaker, and some drums. And you can hear that right here. And I'll turn this down just a hair.
Through the fire.
So just very simple, sparsely populated.
You're making us stronger.
Okay, and then just so that you can get the context of the vocal thickening that's going on, this is much like the same trick that Warren Hewart uses. He has talked about this on numerous occasions about how he takes a copy of the vocals and then he will pitch them up and pitch them down, pitch them up and pitch them down. He makes, I think, 6 to 8 different tracks where he does that. And then he just blends them in like up underneath the vocals to get them to sort of lift those vocals up. I kind of do that, but mine's just a little bit different. I'm such a minimalist. Like I said, this is a huge track count for what I normally do, but I'm such a minimalist that I will try to get by with as least amount of things that I can. So in this instance, I've literally just taken 2 tracks, a left and a right, and I used the plugin, the little Ultra Boy, and just pitched one up and one down. And I'll let you hear that here. Actually, they might both be pitched down.
Through the fire.
Yeah, so they're like a fifth.
Through the flame.
And they're both very, very subtle up under there.
Making us stronger.
If I was to bring them up, they would sound...
No, it's not in vain.
It sounds kind of garbly, kind of, when brought way up. But when you bring it back down to where, like I said, it just kind of accentuates those lead vocals, but doesn't overpower the lead vocals, it really just makes them pop. It makes it come out front. And it almost, in this instance too, it almost give it that sense of that feeling of desperation, that feeling that you get. Greg is tagging his son. It also gives it sort of that feeling of, I don't know. I was trying to sort of bring forth that feeling that I was getting at the time while I'm writing this. And to answer your question, Pirate Beats, yes, I do use Melodyne all the time. And not auto-tune. I like auto-tune. I've played around with a free version of it. Hey, love you too, Greg, man. It's good seeing you. He's at work watching me. That's called dedication right there. But yeah, I've used Autotune a few times, the free versions, and although it can be transparent, it's not as transparent as Melodyne. Melodyne is like, man, that stuff is like game changer, mind blown. But let's go ahead and take a listen also, just to sort of solidify what I just said. Let's take a listen to what the vocals would sound like if the vocal thickening was removed from the equation. So I'll kind of play that with and then without. So here's with.
Through the fire,
And then I'll remove them.
through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not in pain. There's always a purpose in the midst of the pain.
Okay, so as you could see, it was not like a huge, like, whoa, but it was just enough. And if you've been on the channel for any length of time, you know that Pirate Beat says I almost like it more without the backing tracks, the backing vox. It does sound a little more intimate. It really does. But see, that's yet again, that's stylistically, that's taste. So that's what I want to pick up on in these mixed breakdowns is, you know, give you ideas and show you, you know, different ways that other people do it. But if you've been on this channel for very long, you'll know that I'm all about subtleties when it comes to mixing, and everything that I try to achieve is going to be done in small movements rather than large swooping. Now, if you want to do something, you know, stylistically, or just started with Cakewalk and we'll give Melodyne a go tonight. Awesome, Jason. Yeah, definitely. Try it out. And thank you, Pirate Beats, for the shout out, buddy. So yet again, it's not just with EQs, like you don't want to do big sweeping movements with EQs, but I mean, with everything, the whole concept of mixing is you can, a good mix engineer, and I say this, you know, I'm just throwing this out there. A good mix engineer, this is subjective, but a good mix engineer will be able to transform a mix, and you will not even know that they've done anything until you A/B the original to the other. Because at first it will just sound like, wow, that's a really good mix. It's a really good song. But then when you hear the original stacked up against, they'll be like, oh my goodness, what happened? And the way that is achieved is with a bunch of small little movements, a bunch of small wins that add up to a bigger picture over time. Some of the biggest mistakes that I see over all the mixes that I've critiqued or have mixed over the years is just that people, they like a reverb effect, so they crank the reverb effect up, or they like a compressor, so they crank that compression down to where it just completely squashes all the dynamics of a track, or you know what I'm getting at. So by and large, small movements, increments, and don't be afraid to use multiple instances of a plugin in small amounts to get the desired effect. I know someone like, I'm trying to think right off the top of my head, Dave Pensato, for instance. He's kind of famous. Dave Pensato says that he would rather put 5 compressors on a lead vocal, all of them doing just a little bit of compression, rather than put one compressor that's doing the same amount of compression. Because he says, and when he A/Bs it and shows you the difference, there is an audible difference. I mean, it's not huge, but yet again, when you get into the league of where he's at, yeah. He's hearing things that, like, I think he has dogs hearing or something. He's hearing stuff that only a dog could hear. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you taking the initiative to check out that tutorial. It's not a in-depth primer on Melodyne, but it will at least give you a good head start on it. I'd like to get Melodyne 5. That would be amazing, but I don't have, you know, an extra kidney to sell. So moving on now, we've talked about the vocal thickening. Let's go on to another production element here that really, I feel like, makes this. And that's the fact that this acoustic guitar, when it first starts out, it just gives it sort of that ballad feel. Let's take a listen to the acoustic guitar and let's check that out. This is how that's sounding in and of itself.
Through the fire, through the flame,
And then you add this shaker track in here.
no, it's not in vain.
Oops.
There's always a purpose.
So the shaker track is just there, yet again, supportive element of the mix. And a lot of times, yet again, that's another, I'm just going to throw this out there. That's another sort of, it's not necessarily a mistake. If you're doing it stylistically and you like the sound of it, then, you know, let it ride, go with it. But for the most part, a shaker is just supposed to accentuate a mix, and it's supposed to sort of complement things. If like all you can hear is the shaker, then a lot of times I've received tracks with tambourines or shakers that it's just like, that's kind of supposed to be pushed to the back, man. I don't want to hear that the whole mix. It's going to drive me nuts. So the shaker accentuates the acoustic guitar and adds that element of percussiveness on top of the drums, which the drums at this point in time, they're very sparsely populated drums as well. Just to go ahead and give you a quick listen of the drums by themselves.
Fire through the flame.
Not really doing too much at all. But with that shaker in there, it gives it that extra. Okay, so then the drums go from being sort of this sparsely populated, just four on the floor type kick and snare and kick. Then they go into a cymbal crash. Now we've got boom, snares start coming in. And from this point, then we start seeing the production elements start coming in and accentuating the second verse. So first verse, very sparsely populated. Second, I guess it would be the same verse, but it's like verse 1B. So like the first one's like verse 1A. This would be verse 1B. So we go from this.
There's always a purpose in the midst of the pain. The loss is never greater.
Okay, so whenever this comes in, like I said, this second portion of the verse, now we've got electric guitars that come in. We've got this organ sound effect that comes in on top of this. So just to kind of show you here real quick. And it's just real simple, but it's just enough to add that extra push. Okay, then we go from that. Now we're going to get into the big push because we're going into the second go around of the same verse. So this first verse 1A and verse 1B, it's sort of the same thing, but it's just kind of broken up in production elements. Now we're going back around. We're circling back around, much like most gospel music. We'll circle back around to the exact same words. So it's like verse 2, same words. But now we're going to throw in our bass. It's just going to hit with that boom. And I have to say, I'm going to be a little bit, I guess you could call it narcissistic, egotistical, bigoted, shallow. I'm just going to call it confident. I have to confidently say that this bass sounds really good. I love the way this bass sounds on this song. here's the crazy thing. This bass in and of itself kind of sounds like trash, right? And like with most things, when you hear them by themselves, they're stripped down, sort of naked. When you hear them by themselves, you're like, whoa, what in the world? But when you put them in context with the mix, listen to the sound of this bass in context with the mix. I'm sorry, but I'm bragging on this bass. I love the way this bass sounds. All right, so pull it back just a bit. Let's check this out.
We stand to gain
Wait for it.
through the fire,
Beautiful.
through the flame. You're making us stronger.
Awesome. So on top of that, now that the bass kicks in, we also have these subtle little triads on the left and right sides. So now these are coming in. Yet again, it's just these little bitty elements that when thrown into the mix, they keep the interest of the listener. And to be honest, it just makes it sound full. Evan Wilson says it's a very full low end. Now, something that I want to bring up about this, Evan, because I've run into the same issue with individuals where they ask me these questions, like especially with this song. I've even had people comment before who've listened to the music and they've said, how in the world did you get that bass to just fill up that low end like that? So you, because you're here on the channel today, you've actually seen the back end of what the bass by itself sounds like. And that's the point that I want to bring up. So the bass in and of itself is not as full as what it sounds in context with the mix. If you play this by itself, it's very mono, like most bass guitar tracks are. And it doesn't sound very full at all. But when you bring in the organ with it, so the organ, because it actually sets in the lower registers, helps to fill out the bass frequencies on the stereo field that the bass guitar is not. That's huge. That's a huge takeaway from this, okay? Because a lot of people, they try to take their bass track and make the bass track by itself fill up the stereo field because I think, oh, well, I hear this in mixes. And a lot of times all they're hearing is the arrangement. They're not hearing the bass filling up the stereo field. They're hearing the arrangement of instruments that the producer has put in there to make it appear as if the bass is filling up the stereo field. When in actuality, it's all the other instruments playing in concert with the bass to make it sound like that. Now, in a live setting, much like that, that's the same way that you can get a tighter bass is by actually narrowing down those things. So you can get a tighter bass sound in a live setting by, instead of cranking the bass guitar up or EQing it to death, by accentuating the high end of the bass, the pluckiness of the bass, and letting the other instruments sort of inhabit the bass frequencies as well. I know in a live setting too, like in churches especially, you've got, a lot of reverberations and echoes, and bass frequencies fill up rooms quicker than anything. You can get so much bass buildup that it can sound like trash. And so what you have to do is you have to really balance those things. And you have to ask yourself, okay, do I want the bass guitar to be the lead in this particular song, or do I want the organ player to take the lead in this song? And you almost have to pick and choose. The good thing about mixing is you have this ability with automation and mixing ninja tricks like we show here on the channel, like, sidechain compression, EQ ducking, things like that. I mean, there's ways in a mix where you can kind of get them to play together better. But I wanted to show you that because when you start adding all these other elements that have low end just sort of inherent with them, it's what really gives it that full sound. So don't, walk away from this video thinking, well, it's because of the way that bass sounded. Maybe I need to over distort my bass. which that's another side tip on this. In order to get this bass to even poke through, because this mix is so densely populated, distortion is your best friend. Saturation is your best friend. And you'll see that on this, not only do I have the valve driver, which is a pretty heavily distorted setting here, bass guitar drive. I actually used a preset on that. But I also have it being sent to some saturation. So there's a ton of harmonic frequency going on here, which is essentially what your, what's the word I'm looking for? Essentially, that's what your distortion / saturation. There's another word I was thinking of. It just slipped my mind. That's what working third shift will do to you. But anyway, they sort of compress a sound, but they also allow harmonic frequencies to come out of the sound. So it's like a win-win with bass guitar. So yeah, but when you start adding in the organ, and then I add in these guitars, now it starts to sound full. So that's where that fullness begins to really come to shape. Now, when you put all of this together and you get this, basically this drop right here on the second verse, check this out.
Through the fire,
Boom.
through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not.
Okay, so another key point here. In order to get that punch right there, sometimes the best thing that you can do to get a real punch, like at the beginning of a chorus, if you want it to really just boom, just come in, or right after a drop, or whatever it might be, the best thing that you can do, instead of turning things up to get that punch, turn a lot of things down right beforehand. It tricks the ear into thinking, okay, everything's calming down, it's calming down, then boom, it comes back in. It might even be the same volume, but now it feels like you perceive it as it's boom, it's punchy. And as you can see right here, that's exactly what happened. We went from a sparsely populated mix to everything just dropping out, and then boom, it comes in. Now, you'll also notice that within these waveforms, there's also a lot of just single note hits. Okay. So these single note hits, you'll notice every time I strum a chord, it's on the same timing as whenever I'm singing the next line. So through the boom, fire, boom, through the flame. You see that just boom, because all of these are hitting at the exact same time. So the kick drum, the guitar, the bass note, everything's just boom at the same time. Boom, boom. It gives it this, that's what's giving it that, I'm getting excited here. That's what's giving it that chug along, man, that just feels like it's up in your grill. So let's listen to the drop one more time. You're going to see we'll go from sparsely populated, everything drops off into boom. And nothing, even in automation, nothing automated wise, nothing volume wise is being lifted in the volume, but listen for what sounds like a perceived volume gain. Now, granted, there are more instruments coming in, which will add to the volume, the overall perceived volume, but the guitars, the vocals, nothing else has changed. So check it.
Through the fire,
Boom. The drop.
through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain. There's always a purpose
In the midst of the pain. All right. Let's go on now to the next portion of this, which is going to be when I go into the first chorus. So the chorus, through the fire. Not a whole lot is changing in here, but I want you to hear. Okay, now you'll see right here, I'm implementing the same exact strategy. Everything's dropping out. So what's going to happen next? Once that dropout happens, boom, we come in with another boom. Now this time, more elements are being added to the mix. So every time there's this dropout and then everything just crashes back into the mix, we have more instruments being added. So every time that happens, it just keeps sounding more and more full, more rich, more in depth. So now we're going to have this electric guitar that comes in, and this is more like a accentuated, it's like a lead, which is what I've called it, but it's kind of not a lead. It's just take a listen to it. By itself, a little annoying. However, when you put that behind everything else, it's going to really help even further bring this to life. And then also at this point, boom, the choir comes in.
Through the flame, you're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain.
Okay, so once that choir of one comes back in, that's when that guitar comes in as well. And then everything just really starts to build at that point. Now, this is the most built that it's going to be. The only thing that changes from this point on is transitions. And this is also where we'll get into here in just a minute. But I wanted to show you this next drop where the choir comes in. And by choir, I mean me. I sing the choir parts.
Your daughters and sons through the fire, through the flame. You're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain.
Okay, so that's one of those areas where maybe if I hadn't even soloed that electric lead, that dun 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 dun, you may not have even heard it in the mix. But if I would have taken it out, immediately you would have went, whoa, something just left, something's missing. So that's one of those things where as you get better at producing, you start finding things that will accentuate the mix in such a way to just add this extra depth, this extra breadth and width. And it might not even be noticeable. And that's where the subtlety comes in yet again. Just the more subtle that you can do things, the more that you can sort of finesse things to happen, you'll start to notice like my mixes are sounding better. My productions are sounding better. And it'll be one of those things where people will, as you start to play them, maybe in the car or you're playing them around your coworkers or something like that, they'll pick up on it and be like, wow, I never heard that guitar part before. Or I never heard this before. I was playing, it wasn't this song, but it was another song that I wrote at work one day because somebody had, I told them that I wrote music and they wanted to hear it. So I pulled up YouTube for them, let them check it out. I went back to work and this lady came up on the line. She said, I've heard that song before. I said, you have? And she said, yeah, I heard it on the radio. And I said, no, you've not heard this song on the radio. She says, no, I swear I've heard this on the radio. And come to find out, because I use DistroKid, she had actually heard it on Spotify or something like that. But of course, she called it the radio. But I was like, wow. I said, well, what clued you into that it was that song? And so she told me about this part that she kept hearing, and she said it was just running over my head all day long. She said, and that was you. I said, yeah, that was me. So I was semi-famous there for a second. But the cool thing is, those little parts that I'm talking about is the things that will really help your music to stand out from others, because people will start to realize like, man, he's putting a lot of work into this. And it's those little things right there. So Yeah, definitely. Hey, Keith Lane is on here. What's up? We are just talking about you earlier, by the way. It's all good though. I promise. So now we're going to move on to the next portion of the mix. And this is where, so we've built up to this sort of a crescendo moment here where we've got the choir that's coming in. And to your point, Pirate Beats, I know you said this is a lot of vocals to tame. It is, but the way that you do this, Keith says, I deny everything. The way that you do this to sort of get everything to play well together is I try to break it down into frequency ranges for one. And then for two, because they're background vocals, yes, you want to EQ them and make them sound as good as you possibly can. But because they're background vocals, you can take a huge chunk out of the 2000 to 3000, even 4000 kilohertz range. I mean, literally just cut it out. And just by doing that one move alone, sometimes we'll get them just boom, right there into their little pocket. But another aspect of that is the way that the choir was recorded. So if you take a listen real quick, I'm going to digress just for a moment to cover this choir thing for Pirate Beats, because I want to kind of drive this point home too. So go ahead and listen to just the choir by itself real quick. I probably should have warned you that I was doing that. Now, individually,
You're making us stronger. No, it's not in vain.
so you'll notice there's a low on the right, a low on the left.
In the midst of the pain.
Okay, there's another one, but you'll notice it sounds like it's farther away, and that's because it is. So literally, the first choir vox low was sung about as close I am to this mic. The next one, I backed up about a foot, 2 feet. And then the next one, I went halfway across the room and sung from way over there, halfway across the room. So, and then we go with the mids, and then you literally just start blending these to taste.
I heard through the flame. You're making us stronger.
So yet again.
No, it's not in vain.
Okay.
There's always a purpose.
Yeah.
In the midst of the pain, the loss is never greater.
I remember I strained my voice that day. I saved the highs until the end every time I ever do this because, man, it kills your voice. The only way I was able to actually achieve those high frequencies was to thoroughly get kicked in the groin by my son before I started this. So just a tip there. So kidding. Moving on. So choir comes in. Now I've kind of given you sort of my method of recording that choir. You're singing at different proximities, like you just said, and then at different areas of the room, and then obviously in different keys, not really keys, but different pitches. So Pirate Beat says, I find my S and T sounds end up not lining up perfect when I layer a lot of my vocal takes, and it makes it sound off. Yes, it can. The cool thing is within Melodyne, yes, you can use Melodyne, but within Cakewalk too, there's also a really cool thing called the Vocal Sync. I don't know if you've used this, but Vocal Sync allows you to take two vocal tracks and sync them up and kind of get the S's and the T's to fall into place. Now, another way that you can do that is either re-singing it and putting only certain elements that contain percussiveness in your headphones. such as like remove some things that might muddy it up and then leave more of the drums and percussive instruments in there to give you a better sense of timing. That's a good idea. Tutorial vid on the vocal sync. That might be, I don't even think I've done that yet. Man, I am slacking. See, guys, this is why we do these things. Okay, so the vocal sync would definitely be a good option for that. Now we're going to move on, like I've said the past 15 times. We're going to move on to, we'll go to the end of this into the next crescendo, which is the ending crescendo. And this is where I love layering vocals. That's one of my favorite things. And ever since I've ever wrote music, I've got songs upon songs where I will sing one line and sing a different opposing line on top of it. Or maybe not an opposing, an accentuating line on top of it, but it's two different things being sang at the same time. And it's hard to do, but whenever you do it right, I love the sound of it. So that's what I do here. I'm singing the chorus, through the fire, through the flame, you're making us stronger. That's not the chorus. Through the fire, Lord, bring us together. So you're going to hear that. Melt our desires until they become one. We've prayed for revival. Now, Lord, make us ready. Open our hearts to receive your daughters and sons. So as that's being sang, at the same time, you're going to hear, through the fire, through the flame, we feel your presence all around us. So check this out. And it all happens right after this crescendo. And this time, instead of just having instruments drop, because I wanted to add more attention to what's getting ready to happen, so it's getting ready to be the biggest crescendo of all, I wanted to add, instead of it just dropping, it drops with a bar chime. So it gives it this like almost like a resolution to the drop, and then boom, comes back in again. Check it. Wait for it.
And open our hearts to receive your daughters and sons. Through the fire, through the flame,
Yeah.
we feel your presence all around us. Through the power of your name, we're moving forward.
Okay, so when we get to this part, there's the drop, the boom, comes back in with the bass. Now we've got the bar chimes. I want you to pay attention though. In order to get this method of singing on top of other lines, to layer the two, you have to at least give the ears of the listener sometimes. I've got songs where this doesn't happen, but the best practice is, and this is a later song, so I kind of learned that, to sing that opposing line that you're going to sing over top of it first, to give their ears time to acclimate to the fact that, hey, there's something different being sang, and then come in up underneath it with the original that's always been sung, and then it will all just kind of like meld together, and they'll be like, wow, there's a lot going on right now. So check it out. Also, you'll notice that the guitar has went from the stabby, bam, 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 almost like a car alarm, to now it's like these triadic, I don't know. Just check it out. This is what it sounds like. So it's like an arpeggio, triadic arpeggio. I don't know. I'm not Rick Beato. I don't know. All right, so let's go back here. Listen to that drop and the bar chime and the reverse snare. I believe that's a reverse snare. Don't quote me on that, but I think that is a reverse snare. Let me check it out. And it comes in right now. Oh, that was the bar chime. What's this? Yeah, there it is. Beautiful. Beautiful. Reverse snare into a bar chime. That's for the win every time. One more time. Let's listen to that. That's the resolution that I was talking about, where you just resolved that drop. All right, so let's bring it back. Listen to that one more time. Okay, another reverse cymbal. Here it comes. Okay, so lastly, to close it all out, after I got to this huge crescendo, which I'm already hearing, it's like, it's driving me nuts not to start grabbing faders and moving stuff and balancing things better. But this is an older mix. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to mess with it as much as I want to, because I've learned from it and I will move on. I don't go back and mix my old stuff unless I went back and mixed my old stuff, which I don't do. So, but to close it out, you'll notice if I was to zoom in here, I do have a little bit of automation going on with these vocals, especially on this end phrase. I'm using the delay effect to drag out that delay even longer as it goes into the chorus. There's evidence of it being used down here, especially for the drums, which you cannot see because it's not on the drums. It's actually on the master. Where's it at? No, I thought I did some volume automation. I might have pulled up the wrong mix, and that's why it doesn't sound the way that it should. Interesting. Well, either way, it wasn't the mix that I was really wanting you to hear anyway. It was the production. So at any rate, on the finished mix, which evidently this is not, on the actual finished mix, the one that the release that I've done, there is automation towards the end here where everything picks up, everything raises by 2 to 3 dBs, just enough to where that very last crescendo, verse, chorus, top of each other, all that stuff, boom, there's a little bit of a volume gain there. So, apart from that, all throughout the track, or all throughout the song rather, there's mild volume automation on the vocals, the bass. So, okay, so that's been a sort of a deep dive, a mixed breakdown of this particular song. Is this something that you found helpful today? That's what I'd like to know. Is this something that you think would be beneficial? Like if I took some other of my older songs and went through and broke them down, would that be something that you would like to see more of? Would you like to see me do a mix breakdown, maybe of someone else's song, or maybe one of your songs? I don't know. Leave that in the chat section now, or just leave a comment down below and let me know if that's something you might be interested in. Also, you know what we have not done in a while? I think it's been 3 live streams now, and we have not spun the wheel of awesomeness. So let's go ahead and hop on over to the wheel. I've actually added something new to the wheel of awesomeness, by the way. Let's check it out. Okay. Got this all set up properly. Pirate Beach says all of the above. That's nice. Really, Keith? All right. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel and see where it lands. I've added some new stuff. As you can see, there's also a brand new addition to the Wheel of Awesomeness, and that is the free merch item. So if you are tuned in today and you would like to, whoever might win this free merch item, you'll get to head over to the store, the hss.threadless store, and pick yourself out a free piece of merch from there. And then just have to DM me your address and I'll get that sent to you. Okay, let's go ahead and spin this bad boy. We haven't done this in so long. This feels good. I like the way this feels. So let me go to my widgets here and let me make sure I find it. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Casey Kasem, bringing you the Wheel of Awesomeness. Let's spin that wheel. Okay, a favorite. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the chat, what is your favorite pizza topping? That's right. It doesn't have to be all music related around here. I mean, sometimes, you know, you just got to talk about some good old pizza. So that is what we are doing, talking about some good old pizza. Okay. Leave that in the comment section. What is your favorite topping on pizza? Mine would have to be buffalo chicken. I am going to be dead set on that one. Buffalo chicken. That's where it's at. Okay, so Pirate Beats has said that he would like to see more videos like this, more videos of me, really, Keith, I'm telling you what, this guy's off the hook. So, maybe, just maybe, the next mix critique that we will do is from an even earlier song that I've done, that I haven't really looked at in a long time, and we'll do a mix critique / reaction video to my older mix. That might be kind of fun too. I like going back to my old mixes only for the sake of seeing where I've come from. And like the other day, I stumbled across one of my first mixes in, let's see, 2010, maybe. Anyway, it was a long time ago when I first got the Boss BR800, and ground beef and onion. Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Pizza equals munchies equals pizza equals munchie. Oh, well, I know what you would put on your pizza. So, anywho, I pulled up this mix that I hadn't done in years and was like, good Lord, what was I thinking? There was stuff in there. I'm like, I was just shaking my head. I was like, I don't know why in the world. Why did I make that mixing decision? What was I smoking? So yeah, we might do that next time. We'll just go through, if nothing else, the production elements are going to be fine. I've never really had a problem producing the songs or getting the arrangement to sound halfway decent, but the mixing, especially during those days, it was all right. I mean, I've released it, so it wasn't so bad that I couldn't release it, but there's things in there I'm like, oh my goodness. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we will do that. Okay, so if you guys have not already, go ahead and smash that like button, drop kick it, karate chop it. Also, if you are here and you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, do that. I go live once a week. We hold training events. We do things much like we've just done right here today, which this one was a new sort of addition to that. But, you know, we do all kinds of fun stuff on here. So definitely give that a consideration. And also, if you are not a Patreon member as of yet, join the Patreon community. If you get in for even $1 a month, you're going to be having access to a lot of cool things outside of what I offer here on YouTube. There's some downloadable content. I know Pirate Beats, he kept requesting. He's like, we need an EQ cheat sheet. So if you become $1 a month Patreon member, you get free access to a downloadable EQ PDF cheat sheet. You also get access to some behind the scenes stuff, studio tour. I even did a commercial. If you have not seen the commercial that I've done, that's for it's like a comedy spoof commercial for a cologne called Pathetica. You'll have to check that out. So at any rate, I really appreciate you guys hopping on today and just your general awesomeness. If this was helpful, let me know in the comment section. If there's certain aspects of anything you'd like for me to cover. I know Pirate Beats has already brought up the fact that he would like to see something done on the vocal sync. So I'll put that in the hat, and I've got some stuff cooking up here. So Pirate Beat says, I've got to go cut the grass, then write a song for this song contest. I was messing around on the guitar and getting some ideas. I think I might, bluesy. Nice. I'm a sucker for the blues. Keith says, I feel down because my lawnmower hit a stone. Then it hit the dog's bone. Yeah. And this is why we have a t-shirt in the HSS Simplified, in the Home Studio Simplified threadless shop that says nuttier than squirrel poop because of Keith. So, all right. Well, anywho, much love to all of you. Thank you so much for hopping on the stream today. Definitely going to try to be doing stuff like this more often. If you found sweet red peppers and spice extra. Ooh, back to the pizza thing. I am craving pizza if you haven't noticed. That's why that was just so quickly come to mind. Yeah. So also, if you know of another YouTuber that you look up to and you think that they would be a good fit for the channel, maybe for an interview or for just featuring on the channel in some way, shape, or form, send them my way. Be like, hey, you got to go check it. So I hope you got some value out of this. Nonetheless, love each and every one of you. So thankful for each and every one of you. You guys are just completely awesome. Every time I jump on here, you guys just got so much love, which is just amazing during the day and age in which we live. And along those same lines, I want to give some shout outs to these individuals right here, because even while we were streaming today, we had some individuals that subscribed. So that's very, very cool. Thank you guys so much. And we are so close. The last time I checked, I believe we were 78. Oh, wow. We're even closer now. So we are 77 subscribers away from 5,000 subscribers, guys. That is so awesome. And much like I've already said, when we reach that mark, when we get to that 5,000 subscriber mark, we're having a huge giveaway. We're going to throw a party here on the channel. We're going to pull out all the stops. There's going to be merch giveaways. There's going to be headphone giveaways. There's going to be just a general, I might just go ahead and do a 24-hour stream. Yeah, I said that. So I don't know. We'll come up with something. If you guys have any ideas as well, like what you would like to see for the 5,000 celebration, hit me up. Let me know. Once again, much love to all of you. Thank you all so much for hopping on, and I will talk to you all later.